Welcome to the Scavecgraph platform, your solution to publishing, storing and distributing SVG to devices connected to the Internet. The objective of this demonstration is to explain the workings of the platform methodology. The platform has a deliberately structured methodology of clearly defined processes, to be followed in a logical sequence, each with a specific purpose. So these methodic processes need to occur in a specific order, as all are dependent on the deliverable of the previous process. The tool suite of design utilities and their access components are laid out and positioned in a specific manner. To optimize productivity, they are convenient to locate, where they can be utilized in intuitive workflows for enhancing the work experience, giving them momentum. A tasking utility for organizing work along with automated activity auditing to track all the changes, is built in to manage and monitor the deliverables of those processes. It's considered best practice to regularly adhere to the methodology when using any of the utilities within the platform service components. The tasking process produces the tasks to be attended in the processes. The preliminary process produces the archived subject matter material for the processes. The rational process produces a design strategy for the visual process. The visual process uses that design strategy with templates and reviews to produce SVG imagery. By consistent adherence to the methodology, best practice can ensure redundancy avoidance. Conformity to graphic specifications, make sure only correct entries are submitted without errors. Through database design and configured utilities, the platform's manner of storing and handling data automatically ensures complexity avoidance. Integrated utilities empower low-skilled users to perform complicated tasks with great efficiency. Duplication avoidance. Database design ensures maximum reuse of all entities and resources to the fullest extent possible. Bloat avoidance, excluding XML metadata from databases and using content distribution networks to deliver web interfaces. Integrated tasking manages the workload of all users. Is comprised of projects containing tasks that are assigned to the user in trays. The repository managers define and assign tasks to the repository users in trays through the repository console within the admin portal. The users can manage their in trays for multiple repositories and tasks through the admin portal and also in the Studio Publisher. The projects have timeline graphs used to visually monitor the progress of tasks along an expandable timeline that is clickable for in-depth detail. Projects are a root containment mechanism of the workload created when starting a new increment of development when going through the three fundamental processes of the next mentioned methodology to deliver their respective goals. It is comprised of a task for each process. Preliminary process task, specifying work relevant to subject matter material to be made publicly available in online archives. Rational process task, specifying work relevant to a linguistic model of graphic design strategy specifications called symbolism. Visual process task, specifying work relevant to a graphic model of the graphic design strategy implementations called contexts. Tasks are a collective unit defining the general work to be done, which in turn are comprised of further refined work items called notes. Notes are individual task items defining the specific work to be done and can also serve as commentary or enquiries regarding the task. The preliminary process gathers, orders and analyzes material relevant to subject matter of concepts and constructs in a domain. The individual with ideal skill sets to fulfill all of the obligations of these requirements are the domain expert, having in-depth knowledge regarding the domain. They are responsible for sourcing and maintenance of subject matter material, to be in a readily accessible archive location and format for drafting specs. As a means through which the subject matter is collected, ordered and analyzed, is outside the scope of this solution. Only general steps are defined here. Gather, identifying sources to collect material for subject matter relevant to the domain. Research, categorizing and reorganizing material for subject matter relevant to the domain. Analyze, dismantle and dissect material for subject matter relevant to the domain. Article, compile text comprehending material for subject matter relevant to the domain. The preliminary process's deliverable is subject matter material, to be in the correct format and readily accessible, by the rational process and finally visual process. The rational process drafts specifications for illustrating subject matter of concepts and constructs in a domain. It handles a platform construct termed the linguistic model, provisioning definition through language, maintained in the web portal publisher tool suite. The individual with ideal skill sets to fulfill all of the obligations of these requirements are the domain expert, having in-depth knowledge regarding the domain. They are responsible for drafting the preliminary graphics specifications by using the narrative and symbolism designers of the portal publisher. The linguistic model consists of two specific platform constructs, namely narrative construct, that is a topical grouping of symbolism. Symbolism construct, that is a graphic specification profiling the required imagery by noting a definition of the behavior, noting a definition of the imagery, doing a rough sketch of the imagery, pegging labels of visual elements on the sketch. The platform then dynamically generates a design strategy, graphically communicating the requirement to the designer in a way they can easily understand it. The rational process's deliverable is specifying the graphics specification, through generating the design strategy for implementation within the visual process. The visual process implements specifications graphically illustrating subject matter of the concepts and constructs in a domain. It handles the platform construct termed the graphic model, provisioning definition through visualization, maintained in the Studio Publisher Designer tool suite. The individuals with the ideal skill set to fulfill obligations of the requirements is the graphic designer, knowing about the elements of design. They are responsible for implementing design strategies of graphic specifications using the symbology and context designer in a studio publisher. The graphic model consists of two specific platform constructs, namely symbology construct, that is a composition of visual elements. Context construct, that is a configured instance of a composition implementing the graphics specifications by referencing the design strategy. Create, reuse or get symbols. Create or reuse a symbology. Contextualize the symbology. Link contexts in the designer. Attach elements like articles, background, animations and effect to the context in the designer. The visual process deliverable is implementing the graphics specification by publishing imagery conforming to the design strategy of the rational process. An example project is created during the next 4 videos that go step by step through the full life cycle from beginning to end. We use very basic examples to demonstrate the tool suite of utilities and processes users will use for the duration of a project. It has a project of work tasks created by a tasking process. It has subject matter material archived by a preliminary process. It has a linguistic model example created by a rational process. It has a graphic model example created by a visual process.